Hello and welcome into another playoffs preview video. This one's my favorite one to do. This is the bracket challenge. I had a little bit of luck this year and I actually won my pool in March Madness, so maybe I have a little bit of luck going for me right now, and I can also do the same with the NHL. Now, looking at the playoffs, this is a very good card of games, or series I should say. You got the Battle of Florida, that's going to be fun. You got the rivalry of Boston-Toronto, Metro rivals here with Carolina Islanders, Rangers and Washington. These two might just be a wash in a lot of people's opinions, but nonetheless rivalries. Edmonton, LA, they faced the last 2 years in the playoffs, make it a third. Vancouver and Nashville, neither were in the playoffs last year. Both very different styles of team. Colorado and Winnipeg, pretty consistent playoff teams in the last 5 years. Should be interesting to see how they shake out. And then the conference finals rematch from last year of Vegas and Dallas, which I think personally, that's the series I'm the most interested in. If you don't have that as your most interested series, you probably got a bit of East Coast bias, if I would say so myself. And I say that as an East Coaster. Alright, so we're going to hop in, and we're going to start in the bottom right here, because I feel like these two series, most people are going to have the same as me. And we're going to go with Carolina beating the Islanders. I'm going to have that going in 6 games, just out of respect of how the Islanders play hockey. They play tight games. They're probably going to be able to win a game or two. I could see it being a sweep as well, just to put it out there. But I have respect for the Islanders. I'll have it going 6. No respect for the Capitals here. I got the Rangers in 4 games. And I feel like most people, I'm going to say 95% of people are probably going to have these two teams meeting in the second round. And as a hockey fan, you should want this series. Unless you're a Capitals fan or an Islanders fan, you should want to see this series. This is going to be big-time hockey. And winner of that has a good shot to make it to the Stanley Cup final. We then move up to the Atlantic, where things get a little bit more mixy, I'd say. I am going to go with Boston. I am a Bruins fan, a little bit of bias there, but I just think the goaltending and defense that the Bruins have is superior to the Maple Leafs by a bit. If Swayman or Olmark doesn't play well, you go to the other one. Toronto, they don't have that luxury. Their defense isn't as deep. It isn't as talented. The only thing the Maple Leafs can do is score better. And oftentimes in these playoff series, goal scoring can go dry. And when that happens, can you rely on your defense? I don't think the Maple Leafs can. I really don't. There's also rumors that William Nylander is going to miss game 1 tonight. We'll see about that. Could just be smoke, but something to keep an eye on. I got the Bruins in 7 games. Every series these teams go to, it goes to 7 games. Toronto's a good team at the end of the day. They're not going to get run out the building by the Bruins by any means, but Bruins in 7. We then go to the Battle of Florida. I think a lot of people here will probably pick Florida. A lot of people will probably pick the Lightning based off what they've done in the past. I don't think Florida was a fluke, so I'm picking them. I'm picking them in 7, though. I feel like that's going to be a very entertaining series. Bruins in 7. I got Rangers in 4. I got Canes in 6. So let me go next. We'll go to the Western Conference now, where we go to Edmonton and LA. These two teams have faced the last 2 years in the playoffs, with Edmonton taking both of them. Does it change? I'm going to go with no. I think this Oilers team is better than the last 2 years. I think that defensively they're a little more responsible. Some of their younger guys are a little more experienced. I think Stuart Skinner being locked in as their number 1 for a while now going into the playoffs is a positive. They've had a little bit of controversy over who's in net the last few years. Stuart Skinner said it's my net. I have faith in him. I think they're just a better team than LA talent-wise. LA is going to make it a good series, though. They've gone 6 and 7 games versus Edmonton both times. Defensively, they do very well against Edmonton. It's just defense can only carry you so far. I don't have a ton of faith in the Kings' goaltending going into the playoffs. Not to say it's bad. I just don't really think it's like rob a series against Edmonton good. So Edmonton will probably take that in 6 or 7. We then go to Vancouver and Nashville. Now, this is a very interesting series because Vancouver, while being the division winner, you got to remember, these divisions were decided by tight margins relative to the Eastern Conference. So the difference between Vancouver and Nashville, I shouldn't say talent-wise, but like team ability-wise to win a series, is not that different. You really don't know what you're going to get out of Vancouver in the playoffs. And I say that respectfully because you look at their lines and they're very deep, very good team. But I just haven't seen it. They haven't been in the playoffs since the bubble playoffs in 2020. It has me wondering, is this a team that could potentially get upset in the first round? Whereas Nashville, you look, there's a little more playoff experience, but not a lot of playoff experience with success. They have not won a playoff series, I think, since 2019 or 2020. But they've been in the playoffs more consistently than the Canucks. They have UC Saros, who's a very elite goaltender who can rise to the occasion. They didn't have him in the playoffs last year, if you guys remember. You got Roman Josi, great defender. On the other hand, you got Quinn Hughes, great defenseman. You have Ryan McDonough, who brings experience to this Nashville team. They have depth scoring, too, which is underrated. They got Ryan O'Reilly this year, who's just a gamer in the playoffs. And I'm thinking with the veteran leadership the Nashville Predators have, I'm going to take them to upset the Vancouver Canucks. I know a lot of Canadians probably want the Vancouver Oilers series, but I'm going to have Nashville playing spoiler here, pulling the upset. And I say upset out of respect because I do think Vancouver's a more talented team, but the more talented team does not always win in hockey. We then move up to here, and this is where things get interesting. I think both of these series could go either way. I'm going to gain a little bit more likability from the Canadian fan base here. I've not picked a single... Actually, I picked Edmonton to go forward, but I'm going to pick Winnipeg to win this series. And I think it's going to be one of those situations where the depth scoring of the Jets has improved since last year. I think the Jets are more cohesive of a unit. I think Connor Hellebuck is by far the best goalie in this series. And I think you're going to see that on display. While, Makar and McKinnon and Rantanen can flip the series on the head, and they might, I just think the depth scoring of the Jets is better. I think their goaltending is better. I will say I think Colorado's defense is better. And that's why this is kind of a coin flip in my head. And I could be wrong. Colorado could come out here and just absolutely run them over. But I'm going to say the Jets win a tight 7-game series there. And then move up to the conference finals rematch of last year. And no matter who you pick in the series, I hope you're picking 7 just out of respect for the other team. I'm going to go with Dallas, though. I kind of just like how Dallas is built top to bottom a bit better. I think Miro Heiskanen's going to have another good playoff run. Dallas has been to the finals recently. They went to the conference finals last year. There's no reason Dallas can't go to the finals again this year. I think some of their young players are really coming along. I think you have a good mix of veterans and young players who are rising to being good players. So I'm going to go Dallas in 7 games. I'm going to go Winnipeg in 7 games. I'm going to go Nashville in 6 games. Even though I think this talent close, I just kind of think Nashville is going to show up, and I think Vancouver is going to falter in their first playoff appearance in a while. Now I'm going to take Edmonton in 6 games. So let me move on to the second round here, and this is where things get really interesting. We'll start reverse order from the last round where I did it. So I'm looking at this Dallas-Winnipeg series, and I'm going to go Dallas here. Again, I think the goaltenders kind of cancel each other out. I think Jake Ottinger is going to rise to the occasion. Even though if you look at the season, Jake Ottinger didn't have the best season, I feel like he's going to be one of those guys who turns on the playoffs. Kind of like some people are saying Vasilevsky might do for Tampa. I see Jake Ottinger doing that for Dallas. I think their D-core is deeper and better. I think their forward construction of team is similar, where you have good young players combined with good veteran players. But I think Dallas is just built very well for a playoff run right now. Then go down to Edmonton and Nashville. I'm not the biggest on Edmonton, but I just think this bottom section is probably got the least amount of quality high-end teams compared to the rest. You look over here, you got Rangers, Carolina, you got Bruins, Florida, Dallas, potentially Colorado, and Winnipeg. Down here, you got 2 teams that haven't really won anything anytime recently. You got the Kings, who've lost every year to Edmonton in the first round. It kind of makes me think it's Edmonton's section of the bracket, if you want to say, this bottom section to lose. So I'm going to pick them just because I feel like they have the playoff experience with winning series against teams that are not as talented offensively, and I think they're going to ride that to the conference finals. Now, we'll go over here to the Rangers and Carolina Hurricanes. I just think Carolina is kind of like the Dallas of the East, if that makes any sense with how they're constructed and their style of play. I think it's going to give the Rangers issues. I think the Rangers are a very good team when the game's flowing, but I don't think they're as good of a team when the game slows down as Carolina. And the deeper you get into the playoffs, the slower these games can become. And I think Carolina just does that better than the Rangers. I think Carolina's goaltending and defense has just been maybe the best in the league, to be honest, with how they don't let up a lot of high danger chances compared to other teams in this category or tier of teams, I should say. So I got Carolina beating the New York Rangers. I'm not that big on the Rangers, to be honest, as some other people are, but I respect the Rangers, and I think they win a series, and then they go out respectfully to Carolina. You go up to the rematch of the first round last year, Bruins and Florida, and this series is going to be another tight one, I would think. But at the end of the day, it hurts me to say this as a Bruins fan, but I think Florida, just speed-wise, would just be a little too much for Boston to handle. I think the Bruins are a good team. They play good defensive hockey. They have 2 of the better goaltenders in the league, which is a luxury. They have Charlie McAvoy, who is an outstanding playoff defender. When the rules go out the window, Charlie McAvoy rises to the occasion, and he is probably a top 5 defender in the playoffs, defensive ability-wise, in shutdown games. It's maybe top 3 even when you look at all the teams. Like, you got Miro Heiskanen, McAvoy. Those are probably 2 of the better defensemen you can have in a playoff series. Now, neither one's going to like put up like Cale Makar or Roman Josi scoring numbers, but they give you what you need in playoff series, and nobody can deny that. But Florida, just the pace they play at, the goaltending they've been getting this year. Sergei Bobrovsky's kind of a wild card in prediction territory because you never really know what you're going to get out of Sergei Bobrovsky. But I'm going to say he's going to be good enough to beat the Bruins. So in the Western Conference, we have Dallas and Edmonton. And if you could pick up from what I was saying about both these teams, their matchups, I'm not extremely high on Edmonton. I just look at the bottom here, and I'm like, they're clearly the favorite to get out of this little foursome down here. And I think Dallas, Vegas, and Colorado and Winnipeg all could get here. I picked Dallas, but I think whatever team gets out of here is going to the Cup final. And I'm picking Dallas to be my Cup final representative. Just top to bottom, they're very well built. And on the East, I'm also going to go with a team that I said similar things about Dallas to. I'm going to go with Carolina. There's no other reason other than I just think these teams, they're probably the safest bets, if you're being honest, to go far. I mean, no one's gonna really look at either of these teams and be like, man, didn't see them going on a run. Both teams have been to conference finals within the last 5 years. Both teams play playoff style hockey very well. Carolina loaded up too with Jake Gensel at the deadline. It's just one of those things where I think a lot of these teams both of these teams are run the right way, and both of them have the ability and the goaltending to get this far. And I'm going to end up going with the Dallas Stars to win the Stanley Cup. I feel like they've gotten close a few times in the last 5 years, and I think it's just finally the time for Dallas to kind of jump that hurdle. That being said, I'm picking a team to win the Stanley Cup final that could get eliminated in the first round by the defending champions. So I don't really feel too good about that. But it's the NHL playoffs, and if you're not acknowledging the parity and the randomness of just what can go wrong in the NHL and what can go right, you haven't been here long enough. This is a weird playoff. The playoffs are just weird. That's all you can really say. But I'm picking Dallas to win my weird playoff bracket here. I'm gonna submit them. Predict the total number of goals scored in the Stanley Cup Final Series. What the? All right, let's say it goes 7 games, 5 goal average, 35. We'll just plug that in. Probably won't be, but we'll submit that, and hopefully they give me some cash prize when I get this all right, guys. Miss Params? What? Anyway, don't worry about that. I'm going to submit it. Let me know who you think's going to win the Cup, anything that I'm brutally wrong about here, and I'll see you in the next videos throughout the playoffs, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.